Hey guys, Steve here from Bloom Audio. Today we have two brand new IEMs from Campfire Audio, Satsuma and Honeydew. Satsuma and Honeydew are priced at a rock bottom for Campfire, $199 and $249 respectively. They have similar looks, but they're pretty different on the inside, with Satsuma being a more neutral, mid-forward, single balanced armature IEM, and Honeydew being more of a warm, bassy, single dynamic driver IEM. So one question you might ask is, are these sort of like replacements at a lower cost for the recently discontinued IO and Polaris 2? Or are they something else entirely? We're going to dig in and take a closer look. Just from taking a look at the packaging, Satsuma and Honeydew don't really look like budget IEMs at all. You're pretty much getting the same level of packaging that you get with any of Campfire's IEMs all the way up to the Polaris. So, you've got the same kind of box, same ear tip package. You get a couple of these little bags, nice little carrying case. Obviously, the case isn't at the same level as the higher end cases, which use a very high quality leather substitute. These are simple kind of woven canvas. And in the same way, you get the smoky light cable, which is definitely thinner, not as robust as a smoky Litz. It's still a silver plated copper though, which is pretty cool at this price point. Now, the IEMs themselves, rather than being aluminum or stainless like many of Campfire's IEMs, they're plastic. It's a nice quality. Makes them very light. Obviously, not quite the same premium feel as picking up. Like we mentioned, the IO and the Polaris earlier. Not quite that level of feel for them. I do have to, stop the temptation to just kind of pop one of these in my mouth because it looks like a little piece of hard candy sitting on my desk sometimes. But overall, it really feels like what Campfire Audio is trying to do here is really evoke summertime with these IEMs. And there's just a really strong feeling, the bright colors, the sort of pastel and the packaging and all this other stuff. These are basically, and we'll talk about the sound in a second, I feel like these are really positioned as sort of being the perfect IEMs for summer. I don't know exactly what it is, but Satsuma and Honeydew really do sound like summer to me. With Satsuma, it seems to be tuned just right for a sort of, acoustic indie rock. Also does really well with things like, solo piano or even some classical performance, and jazz and that sort of thing. Just very chill. It has these thick, detailed mids that are also really surprisingly natural for a single balanced armature based IEM. So you get this really natural timbre with acoustic and other kinds of instruments. It's really kind of chill, low-key tuning. It just seems it's like a very relaxing IEM to listen to. And then, Honeydew on the flip side is sort of like a, this is Satsuma's maybe a relaxing summer night. Honeydew's like, a party in the streets or something like that. It's warm and it's a little bit relaxed, but it has this huge low end. Maybe they're doing something with the names here, but I'll get to that in a minute. Honeydew just has, it's really, again, big, round, low end. There's a little bit more mid bass than sub bass, and I think what that does is it tends it towards warm in the mid bass and in the low mids, and without the strong sub bass, it keeps it from being dark. So there's still this kind of relaxed, warm nature about it, even with this big impact. Now, in terms of technical aspects, the big thing with Satsuma, I already mentioned, it has really natural timbre, surprisingly so. Is it also there's really strong definition, considering the price point, and that definition is achieved with a really smooth treble. So a lot of times, you're playing this game with headphones, where strong definition means it's bright and maybe a little bit harsh. Satsuma walks that balance really well, where you get the definition and the detail without a lot of brightness. Honeydew has a similar feeling soundstage to Satsuma, but the definition isn't quite as strong. This is more, has the warm low end, where the Satsuma is more the one with a little bit more focus on the detail and definition. And so this brings me to what I think they're getting at with these names, where Satsuma is a type of mandarin orange that's known for being very easy to peel and open up. Honeydew obviously is a juicy melon, famous for being in all your fruit salads. And when you think about the sound, the Satsuma, one of its stronger characteristics is its good definition and upper range. So it makes it easy to peel back the layers of the song. And Honeydew has big, juicy bass. So I guess kudos to the Campfire Audio naming team for their whole team here for the look, the sound, the packaging, everything that really makes these IEMs feel like summer. While they're in the same price range and feature very similar designs, Honeydew and Satsuma probably have more that's different about their sound than they have in common. Satsuma is very much focused on the mids. It has rolled off bass and kind of smooth treble that has really strong definition, really strong presentation of things like vocals, where it gives you a really strong, intimate vocal performance. Honeydew really has this big impact in the bass and a warm sound. It also does have one commonality here that I think is the natural instrument timbre. Even though Honeydew has more of an exaggerated sound, there is a natural character and quality to that. Satsuma ends up being really strong with genres like acoustic rock and piano jazz, different sorts of classical instrumental music, or more low-key types of popular genres. And Honeydew is definitely a stronger performance with hip-hop and dance, Latin, funk, other things in that end, where the impact and the bass are going to be a really big part of the enjoyment of the music. So what I think this does is, in terms of two IEMs being released side by side, is there's not really a competition between them. It's really more of they complement each other, and have some broad shared characteristics, like the more natural sound and some element of being relaxed, and like I said, being very summery in a weird way. So when you look back at past Campfire IEMs like the IO or Polaris 2 we mentioned earlier, I think there are some commonalities in the overall tuning, with Satsuma being somewhat similar to IO and Honeydew being somewhat similar to the Polaris. But there's a difference there too, where Polaris in particular had a bass that's exaggerated to an unnatural degree. And while there were a lot of strong elements of the technical performance in Polaris, it didn't really have, it's definitely, there's nothing relaxed about the sound. Where Honeydew sort of balances this relaxed feeling with this big impact, Polaris really was kind of more in your face, I guess, and also just lacking in the sort of the natural warmth of Honeydew, where it would skew a little bit on the darker side. IO and Satsuma are probably a little bit more similar there, but I still feel Satsuma as having a certain relaxed, natural sound that even at this lower price point, I actually kind of like it better than IO. And so yeah, I do think it's really interesting how they're so different, but complement each other and sort of have these broadly shared characteristics that make them fit really well together. As a guy who hasn't met a bass boost button that I haven't turned on and left on, I have to say I really enjoyed listening to Satsuma. There were a handful of tracks that I just really had on repeat because I love the way that Satsuma presented those tracks. And as for Honeydew, definitely not the guy who's going to turn up his nose at a big, warm, bassy budget IEM. And I'd say with this level of performance and these price points, picking up Honeydew or Satsuma would be a great way to start off your summer. So thanks for watching. You can check out our full reviews at bloomaudio.com. And we'll be back soon with more hi-fi personal audio content.